championship leader is stopped on the pace laps.
I think it's going to be about 20 points separating. Now it's 18. It's updated in real time, James. 16 points separates Palou from Will Power.
We've just got word we are 1 to go at the line. Palou's about to go a lot of laps down.
Keep an eye on Power. Red, white, and black Horizon car, and there's no start.
Oh,
big crash! Power got through.
Okay, go for it.
Joseph Newgarden out from pole position.
Did someone go from behind? Keep an eye on that number 8 car and Marcus Armstrong. The two Ganassis came together and got into Newgarden. Will Power is 8 points back as they run, starting from second. Lundqvist, Rossi, Award. Let's go again from Milwaukee. And Rossi taking a look right down there on Lundqvist. Can he get him through 2?
3 wide behind them, and same old story. Connor Daly living up there in Schechterville, USA, in that third lap early.
His teammate Roman Grosjean side by side with Santino Ferrucci there. Pato Award down low.
Power definitely has the pace advantage as he goes by now.
David Malukas is slowing. Mechanical issue. Time to go again for Milwaukee. That's Alexander Rossi in the papaya and white and black car behind. Third is Scott McLaughlin. Don't forget about Pato Award on the charge at 4th.
Just looking at that left front wing here for Pato Award as we ride on board thanks to Aero. Doesn't look like there's any damage. Maybe just a little bit more vibration with the left front end fences. Santino Ferrucci, I think there, just did another big slide job going into turn 3.
Snookered Pato by using Kevin Simpson as a pick. Fired it in there. We've seen that move a couple times now out of Santino over the last day and a half. And he is still hanging it up top.
Under caution now at the Milwaukee Mile, and the leaders are coming in. Will Power back in play for a championship, but Scott McLaughlin, that blue Gallagher car, is going to hit his marks first.
Will Power is in as well. They'll change 4 tires and just a quick fill of fuel. A little bit late on, it looked like maybe the back tires, but still a 6.6 second stop for Power.
And Scott McLaughlin jumped his teammate Will Power.
The reason why we're under caution, big old snap. Tank slapper off of turn 2.
Alexander Rossi controls the field. He gets a good jump. Remember, there's still lap traffic to deal with, so Dixon is going to have to get by in that orange and blue car, trying to get by there for second in the race, but he's not second in line.
The second in line was Connor Daly, using the Connor Daly line up top to get around the lap car of Catherine Legg.
Oh, here comes Santino Ferrucci again. 3 wide, a crash. Graham Rahal.
Hard into the wall for Rahal, spun all the way around 360 degrees.
Got absolutely drilled.
As Graham shares his very strong opinion on the matter.
Let's go again from the Milwaukee Mile, and Will Power is around.
Right,
He
go,
was
go,
in
go,
play
go.
to
You gotta
take
keep
the
it running. Keep it
championship
running.
lead.
Go, 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 go.
And he's made contact, but he may not be out.
He got it refired. That's huge.
Unbelievable.
What happens here? He just loses it on his own, mid-corner, accelerating there for the restart.
They've only got 1 set left. They probably only had 1 more stop to make. So they're going to put a set of used Firestone tires on here.
They have front wing damage, so he is going to come down. But I believe we're going green next time by.
I don't know if I like that call. If in fact it's going to go green, that's going to put Power deep into the clutches.
And the start is not going to happen this time.
Don't worry.
The order was not correct.
Will Power just
Dodged it.
gets
Huge
super
bullet.
lucky, but he's going to go a lap down here.
Go, go, go.
Seemed like it was thumbs up. I'm surprised that they made the replacement here.
And now he's very out of position.
Go, go, green,
But the
green,
green
green,
flag's
green, green.
waving.
Alexander Rossi takes them back to green. Scott Dixon is going to get by Connor Daly. Many laps down. That blue car is Scott McLaughlin. He is third in the race, but has some more traffic to deal with.
Look at Ferrucci squeezing too high there as Christian Rasmussen will get a penalty. Look at Rinus VK, his teammate, up the inside of Kiffin Simpson.
For that last caution, Christian Rasmussen is going to be penalized. A drive-through, and Will Power is now in recovery mode.
Well, this 3-pit crew has been on it all day long. This pit stop's going to take them all the way down to the end with 52 laps to go. It's going to be 4 tires, Shell fuel. We'll see what they're made of. And it's down and away.
Colton Herta shut down the inside line, but it's going to cost him. McLaughlin with the run up the inside. He'll have the point.
Side by side. How close do you want it? They almost touch. McLaughlin to the front of Milwaukee, and Herta fights right back on the outside. Herta regains the lead.
In the draft, he pulls out.
Here comes
Look
McLaughlin
at Will. He's there. He's got a wing
with
on
the
you.
Cambridge on board. That's our view, looking left.
By himself.
McLaughlin is clear.
We got a yellow Stingray Rob in turn 2.
Take another look there at the Stingray Rob incident, just high into those marbles.
They're all coming for it.
Okay.
This is what we talked about with Scott McLaughlin, a late yellow. This could help him. He has an extra set. They're not stickers, but they put fresh tires and splash of fuel. He's down and away. Colton Herta amongst another taker, taking tires and fuel, and he is also down and away.
4.8 seconds for Alexander Rossi and Arrow McLaren.
Here we go again from Milwaukee, and McLaughlin has a good jump. Dixon has a run on Rossi, and he zooms to second. Dixon is on the charge. Herta going around the outside up to third.
I think that move from Dixon caught Rossi off guard, had to get out of the throttle, and now Herta on Dixon into 3, side by side. Does the Ferrucci? Can Dixon fight back on the outside? Both guys throttling it.
I thought Herta was going to move up a little higher. They almost touched down the front straightaway.
There's not much more historical than the Milwaukee Mile. In the IndyCar return, Scott McLaughlin has won again on an oval.
Up next, it's the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, Sunday, September 15th. Watch it at 3 p.m. on NBC.
Welcome back to another episode of the Push to Pass podcast. I am Derik Vance, and of course, that was last year's Hy-Vee Milwaukee Mile 250, a new sponsor this year for the race. We'll unpack that. We'll talk a little bit more about what the Milwaukee Mile is going to have in store this weekend. We will take a look at the weekend schedule. We'll do a hot lap around the Milwaukee Mile, show you some of the past winners as we analyze and discuss, myself along with the other two co-hosts who I'll bring in here shortly, this weekend's Snap-on Milwaukee Mile 250. So we'll take a look at that. Joining us at the bottom half of the hour, pleasure from IndyCar Radio Network announcer Ryan Myrehn. Can't wait to speak with him and get his thoughts on the IndyCar season and then this weekend's race coming up. Also, we'll be joined by Mike this evening for a betting segment. We'll get our first look at the weather report this weekend from Milwaukee, from the Wisconsin State Fair, as IndyCar Weatherman will join us, and we got some news and notes to go over some happenings from the last few days on the NTT IndyCar Series. But first, before we get into any of that, let me bring in the other two co-hosts, maybe the better-looking half of the Push to Pass podcast. First, we're going to bring in, don't get him confused, ladies and gentlemen, not Anthony Richardson. No. It's Josh Roberts. Josh, how are you this evening?
Doing pretty good. Glad to be back after my hiatus for about 2 or 3 weeks of being out in the sweltering sun for the State Fair. Can't wait to get back to talking about the sport we love so much in IndyCar and all the unanswered questions we have going into the last 2 races.
Absolutely. Josh was on some prior engagements, and he ended up picking up a few shillings or 2 for the pocketbook, so to say. Also joining us as usual, and I have to make a confession that sometimes when I look at Michael, I think of our guest. I have to look to make sure that we don't have our own Ryan Myrehn here, but Michael is joining us as well. Michael, how are you this evening?
I'm okay, I guess. I'm just trying to figure out who can throw the ball better, Josh or Anthony. So I think we know the answer to that because neither one of them are starting this year. But been a good week so far, and let's talk some IndyCar.
Wow, I think I need to apologize to Josh. I didn't think this was going to be bash on Josh night, but it looks like it's already going to go that way from the jump. But yes, Michael is correct. We do have a IndyCar race this weekend. We've been on, as Josh said, it's a hiatus. It seems like we've had a race every other week. Well, I guess we kind of have, but the season is dwindling down. A lot of questions, like Josh said, that are going to be answered this weekend. If you look at the video description, and I don't know if either one of you two seen it or not, and I know me and Michael off air discussed this last week, and I imagine there'll be more discussion as the show unfolds. But with Alex Palou wrapping up his third straight Astro Cup, and again, huge congratulations that goes out to him. What a feat that is, not winning one, but winning, 3 in a row. So, again, huge congratulations goes out to him. But before we get into it, the question that I put in the description for tonight's video, fellas, if you didn't see it, with Alex Palou wrapping up everything, the Astro Cup, importantly or mainly, just curious as to what not only the attendance in person is going to look like for Milwaukee and then next weekend in Nashville, but what's the TV viewership going to look like for those two races as well? Before we get into previewing that race, I'd love to get either one of you or both of your comments on that question, viewership and attendance for the next 2 weekend races.
This year, thank goodness for Nashville that they're racing on the weekend that they are. I know college football starts up that Friday. It actually starts up next week, but the big kickoff is that Friday that they start out. And thank goodness there's no good games on that Sunday that are going to conflict with it. So I would imagine for Nashville there'll be some good viewership and probably some good attendance. I would imagine. I've never been to that track, so I can't speak too much on it, but I would imagine they'll have a pretty good crew. Now, come this weekend, I don't see any conflicts of interest, so I'm hoping and praying that we have good viewership, also some good attendance. You go out on a bang, make Fox make the purchase that Fox did into the IndyCar a worthy purchase.
Yeah, I seen a post where ticket sales were up, so that's good for Milwaukee for sure. They're at the state fairgrounds. Obviously, it's a 1 mile track, and we'll talk more about the layout and things like that. But hopefully, the attendance in person is good. I know everyone talks about the TV numbers, and they're a big part of the sport, not only IndyCar but all professional sports, because they pay the big bucks. But at the end of the day, for me, I look more at the at-track attendance, because those are your key fans. As we've seen with Iowa, you might as well just raised. It looked like a COVID race when they first started back up after COVID. You had like 10 people here, 10 people there. It was like where they sectioned off families. So that looked horrible. And, the at-track attendance is very important, because that's where you get to see more action than you do on TV. While you have the TV that's kind of announcing and helping you go through what's happening, you can actually at the track see what you want to see, and you get the bigger picture. So I feel at track attendance is more important than TV at times, from a fan standpoint.
Yeah, I think those are all valid points. Just to add my 2 cents in for whatever it's worth, I'm curious to see, as I touched on, what the fan attendance is like, obviously with nothing to race for. And then I'm going to be curious to see the viewership on the TV side, because I know obviously, Fox is going to get those IndyCar diehards, But you know what? They're looking for those new fans that they can introduce IndyCar to, and I'm curious to know if they're going to be able to pick those new eyeballs or new viewers up with obviously nothing to race for. So that's my 2 cents on that. Let's get into, as Michael and Josh both talked about, let's get into what we're going to potentially see at the Snap-on Milwaukee Mile 250. First, if you're new to the show, thank you, welcome. But what we're going to do now is we're going to break down this race a little bit. We'll give you some insight from all of us, from all three of us. But first and foremost, let's take a look at what we're going to be dealing with here this weekend. This is the layout of the Milwaukee Mile, as I touched on at the beginning of the show. It is at the Wisconsin State Fair, so that does make it kind of intriguing. 250 laps, as the title says, 253.5 miles. The Milwaukee Mile on the grounds of the Wisconsin State Fair in West Isles, Wisconsin, is a 1 mile oval that truly drives more like a road course because of the 9-degree banking in the turns, which produces some of the most exciting racing to come. Drivers can't go on the course, which creates overtaking opportunities in the turns as well as the straights. The mile opened in 1903, and little has changed to the configuration. Josh, Michael, anything else you want to add to about this 1 mile 9-degree banking track that again drives like a road course, but a lot of places here for overtake?
I mean, as everyone knows, I'm an advocate for ovals. I just find the racing a little bit more exciting. So, but with it only being 1 mile around, this race may not take very long. I would say probably 2 hours, 2.5 hours max, depending upon your your cautions and anything else that would be brought out. So, I mean, it looks like a straightforward oval, and we all know who loves to dominate ovals, but we'll see if he can maybe finish off the year with picking up one of the next 2 oval races.
Yeah, I like Milwaukee. It gives a lot of passing opportunities. Obviously, we've seen the pre video that we played, the passes. I especially like Connor Daly, Santina Ferrucci, those guys that have a little bit of stock car experience seem to really prevail here. So it'll be fun to watch those two for sure this weekend coming up, because they make those bold, gutsy moves that you would in a stock car. So it'd be fun to watch those two for sure.
Definitely worth keeping an eye on, as Michael said. What the weekend schedule does look like. Normally, we start things off on Friday, but as you see here, that is not the case. Now we're going to get things kicked off Saturday, August 23rd. All these times are Eastern Standard Time, so adjust for your time zone. 11 a.m., we're going to have first practice, a lot packed in on Saturday. And then following that, a couple hours later at 2 p.m. is going to be NTT IndyCar Series qualifying. And then 4:30 is going to be the high line and final practice. We've seen that high line practice at Iowa a few weeks back. And then Sunday gets everything culminates to the race at 2 p.m. So pretty light and a quick schedule here at Milwaukee. I know we're used to having doubles at Milwaukee. I think we had a double last year, but just not going to be the case this year. So we're only going to have one race at Milwaukee. So as Josh alluded to, it's definitely going to be a quick race, unfortunately, because like I said, only being a mile and you have 250 laps. So pretty quick race there in just a few hours time. All right, some of the past winners that are going to be participating in Sunday's race. Obviously, you see right there, Palou Award in 2024. Scott McLaughlin in 2024 as well. Award won race 1. McLaughlin won race 2, as we've seen at in the Open. Then he had Will Power in 2004. Then you got to go all the way back to 2009. I think Josh was still a teenager in high school in 2009 when Scott Dixon was able to pick up a win here as well. So those may be some of the favorites going into this weekend. Obviously, Mike will come on later in the show to discuss that. But outside of those past winners there, anybody else names that maybe the antenna goes up a little bit that could etch their name as a winner in the 2025 season?
I mean, as we all know, Newgarden's the king of ovals, so he's always someone to look to. But Penske's not been having the greatest season, and that's an understatement. But my question is, how much do the drivers really care? I know they're competitive, but it's been a long season for them, and I know they're probably looking forward to the end of the road. So anyone could win this. Heck, Graham Rahal, after he was unceremoniously taken out, he could want to come back on a revenge tour and want to take this one out.
I'm just hoping someone can stop Alex Palou. The guy has won just about everything this year, so hopefully he doesn't win again this year. That's just a little bit of me wanting some more competitiveness. But Josh alluded to it. Joseph Newgarden's really good on ovals. Has never won here. I seen a stat earlier, and I don't know who put it out, but he has not finished well since coming to Penske. So we'll see. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, I don't know that Newgarden's the one to bet on this weekend, and Mike will have more on that. But, McLaughlin, obviously his past win last year. But, Josh also said Penske hasn't been doing good this year. We know that. But, Power had some, Power won at Portland. So, maybe they've turned a corner. That leadership's come in and kind of helped smooth some things out. And, so maybe they'll be back to their winning ways. And obviously, like I said, I look at Santino Ferrucci for me and also Connor Daly, both having that stock car experience on those short tracks.
When we used to think ovals up until this year, and both of you alluded to it, the first three names that people would drop would be any driver that has that's under the Team Penske umbrella. But this year's, again, you both alluded to, that just has not been the case. And Team Penske, it really hasn't put the fear of God, so to say, in anybody, especially on ovals this year. But as Michael alluded to, Will Power picking up the first win of the season for Team Penske, which again is still unbelievable, with race 14 of the season and Team Penske picking up their first win. So definitely a lot of wild cards that could be in play. But I will agree with Michael. I would love to see someone else outside of Alex Palou, Kyle Kirkwood, Pato O'Ward, and Will Power win on Sunday. Definitely get a different winner for sure. All right, if you haven't been to Milwaukee before, or you've never seen the Milwaukee Mile on TV, let's take a look at a hot lap last year by Scott Dixon around the Milwaukee Mile. And like we said, Josh alluded to it a little bit ago, how quickly the drivers are going to get around and how quickly this race is going to tick lap by lap. And you see right there, riding along with Scott Dixon last year, how quickly the Indy cars do get around there. All right, before we get to our guest here in the next few minutes, to both of you, what are some of the storylines that you guys are going to be paying attention to going into Milwaukee this weekend. Obviously, we talked about what the TV, the in-person audience and TV viewership is going to look like. But outside of that, are there any other storylines that either one of you are looking at or going to pay attention to as this weekend unfolds?
I mean, the obvious ones, can Palou pull off another win, add to his dominant season? It doesn't look like he's going to catch AJ Foyt's record, but can he finish out the season on a high note? I mean, the highest note's when he's going to pick up that Astro Cup in Nashville, but can he add to his resume? Just how are the with the season points being all wrapped up, what kind of effort are we going to get out of the drivers? I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to go out there and just drive around nonchalantly and not care, but if it comes down to let's say someone's fighting for 10th or 9th, are they going to take that risk to try to make a pass to get into the top 10 or get on the podium? Will they take chances, or will it just be, okay, we got 2 races left, we already know who's winning the championship, and just not really caring too much about the race?
Yeah, for me, I think for TV, a good thing for them to kind of bridge the gap a little bit with looking at the point situation is looking and explaining a little bit more about the leader circle. I know we've talked about that quite a bit here on the show. The top 22 get that extra $1.2 million. So that's a big thing for these teams. And, when I look at that and look at the drivers on the bubble, Stingray Rob's there, the 30s down there. I think Louis Foster is the last car in right now. And then above him, I believe it's Nolan Siegel. So that would be a good thing for TV to kind of help the viewer and kind of help explain that a little bit more. And it would give them another talking point, because I don't feel like the fans know enough about it. And maybe some fans don't care about it, but there would be some fans like me, the nerdiness of me that would want to know about that and would love to have it explained a little bit more. And it's another talking point that TV can introduce. So for me, that's one thing I'll be looking at is the leader circle with 2 races left. I know it's pretty close. We'll have to see how that goes. And then for me, looking at the lines, can that second and even third lane open up? Those will be things I'll definitely be watching.
Yeah, definitely storylines to keep track of this weekend, and I think Michael brings up a great point about the winner's circle points, because we all know how important those are, and I think our next guest, who I'm going to bring in here, should be coming in right now, knows exactly how important those are as well. This gentleman obviously needs no introduction, but IndyCar Radio Network announcer Ryan Myrehn is going to spend a few minutes with us. First and foremost, Ryan, a huge thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your busy schedule on race weekend to join us. And for our audience, heaven forbid they don't know who you are, but can you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Hey, Derik, Josh, Michael, thanks so much for having me on the program. Great to be with you guys. And yeah, sure, absolutely. I've worked with the IndyCar Radio Network now primarily as a pit reporter off and on since 2017. And it's been a culmination of a life's work to get to work with that group, but also work covering other forms of motorsports as well, primarily sports car racing, IMSA and SRO, and also Formula E this year and the last couple of years too on CBS. So keeps the guy busy. But love talking IndyCar. I'm an Indy native, so it's a special championship and a special series. And certainly it's been a unique season with the dominance of Alex Palou, but even still, it leaves us with plenty to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. We were just, as you joined us, we were talking about some of the other storylines outside of Alex Palou that we're going to be keeping an eye on this weekend. But before we get to IndyCar, and you touched on a little bit, what got you into racing, and then maybe more specifically, what got you into the media side? Like you said, reporter on the IndyCar radio network, and then some of the other things that you do on the side as well.
Well, thanks for asking. I'm from Indianapolis originally, and although my family moved around quite a bit when I was young, Indy was always home, and so consequently racing is a big part of the city's identity. My dad was a big race fan. He's a mechanical engineer, so he loves cars in general, but race cars in particular. So some of my earliest memories are watching IndyCar races with him when I was a really little guy, and always followed motorsports throughout my youth. Other sports as well, but when I went off to college and I attended DePaul University just outside of Indianapolis, about 45 minutes or so west of Indy, I went there with broadcasting in mind. And as I spent time there, I realized, yes, I like broadcasting other sports too, but for me, racing is really the thing that gets me going. So I spent a few years working at a local radio station in Missouri, spent a couple more years working in sports radio in Michigan before moving back home to Indy when I got some opportunities in motorsports. And those have just gradually grown as the years have progressed. And it's been a really rewarding and gratifying journey to get to chase a dream like this and to get to do some really neat things across the width and breadth of racing.
Believe it or not, Ryan, before we get in to discuss the 2025 season, because I would love to hear what you think about that. We've actually had some of your colleagues on the IndyCar Radio Network on here, Mark James, Michael Young, Jay Query. Can you tell the people that may not have the access that you do, what it's like working with all those individuals and then everybody on the IndyCar network as well?
It is so cool, to say the least. And Mark in particular is someone who, it's a voice I listened to when I was a kid. I think his first Indy 500 on the radio network was 96 or 97. So I was born in 88. You do the math. I've been listening to him for a really, really long time. And actually, my first ever interview with him, he was, in addition to his broadcasting career, a high school football coach at Monrovia High School in Indiana, and that high school played in the same conference as a couple of the schools that I covered while I was in college. And so I had him come on my radio show in college first and foremost to talk about high school football, but then I kept him on for a couple extra minutes to chat about IndyCar racing too, because that was, of course, a mutual passion. So to get to call him a colleague, a mentor, and a friend is really special. And then you throw in some of the big characters like a Michael Young or a Jay Query, and it's a lot of fun off the air. If you think that group is fun on air, you should hear some of the conversations that happen in between sessions or in between races. But the amazing thing about working with the radio network is it's a case of the whole being greater than the sum of the parts. Everybody pulls together to make the broadcasts what they are. And I think especially in the month of May, especially for the Indy 500, the way that show comes together, it's just so special to be a part of it. It's something I grew up listening to as a kid, and to get to play some small part is as cool as it gets working in this industry. So it's a real thrill. There are a great bunch of guys, and it's a privilege, as I said, to get to work with folks like Mark and like Jake and Michael and Nick and some of the other younger folks that are coming along here as well.
Yeah, you guys, listening to you as I do, and I'm sure Josh and Michael will say the same, you guys all just click so well, and I know radio is all about timing, and you guys just have a knack for knowing exactly when each person is supposed to talk and then cut off, goes to the next person, and so on and so forth. So I definitely commend all of you for the yeoman's work that you guys do week in and week out. But getting to the 2025 season, Ryan, as much as you've been around motorsports, have you ever seen a dominant season that Alex Palou has put together? Obviously, it's not done yet with just 2 races left to go. I'm sure he's eyeing for those 10 wins to cap off his 3rd straight to Astro Cup. But just curious, in your mind, in your words, this 2025 season, it's Alex Palou and the rest of the field.
Yeah, certainly in terms of open wheel racing in the States, this is unprecedented. I think you could go back maybe to what Sebastian Bourdais did at the tail end of the Champ Car era, but it has to be said that was done against a diminished field that was nowhere near as competitive as what Alex Palou was up against here. You really have to go back to 1994 as far as IndyCar racing is concerned to see a season as dominant as this and what Allenser Jr. did with Team Penske at that particular time. Other than that, outside of IndyCar racing, this kind of thing is par for the course in Formula One. We've seen dominance like this over at F1 over the years. I'd say some of Jimmy Johnson's championships kind of had the air of inevitability to them in a similar way to what Alex Palou is doing in IndyCar these days. But man, it's just incredible. You go into the weekend and you legitimately have to ask yourself, is it Alex Palou or the field? And it's a question that is a true viable question that has to be contemplated. To do that in this era where the teams are so good, the drivers are so good, the equipment is so level across the board, it's truly remarkable. And I'm running out of superlatives, as I've told several people over the last couple of months, to describe what Alex Palou has turned into. I thought he was pretty good when he came over to the States. I had a colleague who worked in Japan and covered him in Super Formula when he very nearly won that championship as a rookie. And he told me, yeah, I think he's pretty good, but we just have to kind of see how he adapts to the U.S. It didn't take him very long, and he's leaving an imprint now that's going to be felt for decades to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't agree more. Ryan, I do have, as you see on here, two other co-hosts that I'm going to turn the mic over to see to let them ask you a question or two. So, Josh, take it away.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for coming on. Like with your other colleagues, I've asked them the same question, and I'm going to ask you the goal of the media in IndyCar is to grow the sport. What do you think that IndyCar can do as an organization to grow the sport, to make it more accessible and get it more out there? Like Formula One took off a couple years ago with the documentary. I'm not saying they need to do that. I'm just saying what ideas do you have that could make IndyCar more of a fan watching experience on TV, on the radio? I mean, you guys, I'm not sure you guys could do anything better on the radio. I mean, the way you guys flip back and forth between, turns here and there, listening to the 500, it's a work of art, but just the communication you guys have. But what do you think IndyCar and Roger Penske as a whole can do to bring more viewers and bring better crowds than we had at Iowa and some other tracks we've had this year?
Well, thanks first and foremost for the kind words. And like you said, I echo your sentiments. What our turn announcers do in particular on the radio, painting the word picture, as Sid Collins used to say, is remarkable. But to your question, man, that is the $1 million question. And I promise you, I would not be a radio broadcaster if I had the answer to that. I'd be somewhere in marketing, and I suspect making a little more money. But it's the real challenge, isn't it? Trying to get this product in front of more people. I don't think there's anything wrong with the product. I think the racing is excellent. I think the talent behind the wheel speaks for itself, and the personalities are there. But maybe that's what we need to latch on to. If you're making the allusion to Drive to Survive and what it did for F1, to my mind, it gave people a hook. It gave people a reason to tune in, and that's because they developed a connection to the stars of the sport. And ultimately, as cool as the cars are, as neat as the venues are, it's about the guy or gal behind the wheel. That's really, I think, what the ultimate draw is for most people to motorsports. So somehow, some way, getting those personalities out there. And I think actually what our TV colleagues at Fox have done is the right idea, highlighting three drivers coming into the season with those commercials going into the Super Bowl, right? With Alex Palou, Pato O'Ward, and Joseph Newgarden. Conveniently, two of the three have had pretty good seasons this year, and we've been talking about them a lot. So at least those fans that were maybe introduced to those names through those commercials now have seen that success carry over into the season. And I suspect we'll hear from Joseph before this season is all said and done. But to me, it's all about creating the stars. And even before F1 did it with Drive to Survive, NASCAR was doing it extremely well. I mean, you look at the fans that would go around with the tattoo of their favorite driver's number on their arm, and they'd change the tattoo if the driver changed numbers, right? I mean, that's the kind of dedication that gets somebody tuning in week after week, emotionally and physically, in the case of the tattoos, invested in the sport and in their driver. So what Fox has done already is a great start, and I suspect now with their greater investment in the sport, we'll see even more of that, bringing some of the great personalities, and there are plenty of them inside of IndyCar. Bring those out, put them at the forefront, and give people a reason to tune in, because a name and a face, or a name without a face, I should say, that doesn't have the hook. But once you have the face, once you have the personality, and you have the connection, whether it's for or against, then you've got a reason to tune in.
Thank you, Ryan. That's my only question. I'll defer the rest of it over to Michael.
Thanks, Josh.
Ryan, like Josh and Derik have said, thank you for joining us this evening. My one, I guess the biggest question I have is a lot of talk with Fox coming in about a playoff format. And we've seen kind of how it works in NASCAR, whether it's good or bad, it spiced things up. A lot of the drivers have been pro against it big time in the IndyCar series. In your opinion, does, whether it's a playoff format or something, does something need to change with the point structure in IndyCar, or do you think it's good the way it is?
I will stress, first and foremost, these are my opinions. They do not represent the opinions of any employer I might have. So speaking for myself, I don't want to see any change. Admittedly, I'm of the old school, and I was drawn to the sport when it was a season-long championship across the board, and the notion of a playoff in motorsport was about as foreign as can be. I don't think we need to see any change. This year is so exceptional that it's the exception that proves the rule, right? The fact is, more often than not, and in the vast majority of seasons, we haven't needed anything like it. And we'd still have 2 or 3, sometimes more drivers going into the season finale with a chance to win the title. I don't think we should have a knee-jerk reaction to this year of dominance. Admittedly, it is the second time in the last 3 years that this has happened. But if you look at the long history of this sport, we just haven't seen this kind of domination in IndyCar with any kind of regularity, which would lead me to believe that we don't need to make any kind of drastic changes. But I'm not the one who's in charge of TV ratings. I'm not the one who's in charge of the bottom line. So others will have different opinions, I'm sure. However, I would echo what the drivers say. I think they want it to be the reward for an entirety of a season, and the efforts and excellence that's required of that should be rewarded. And I think even the guys in NASCAR would say the same thing, where a lot of them talk about winning races or being in the Final Four in the playoffs, but not necessarily winning the championship. That's the new benchmark for a driver, because there's so much out of your hands with the way that the NASCAR format works, that it's not necessarily the best driver over the course of a season that wins the title. I would like to see a season's worth of excellence rewarded, but again, it's not my decision to make, and others will have different rationale when they are ultimately making that call.
Yes, as someone who follows motorsports in general, I love NASCAR. I actually grew up in North Carolina, so I was a NASCAR fan well before I knew what IndyCar was. And yes, I agree with you that the drivers have definitely been against the playoff format and its current feature. My next question is, and I know Josh and I have talked about this quite a bit, is with the new car coming into into the light in a couple years, do you think that the car needs to continue to be a spec car, or do you think that the team should have some leeway and some wiggle room to produce some of their own parts and pieces and that sort?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure I have a firm opinion on the subject. I think the series, the sanctioning body, needs to keep cost in mind and save the teams from themselves. I think the fear is, if you open things up, history will tell us that whether it's IndyCar or sports car racing or NASCAR, whatever the case may be, Formula One too, the teams will spin themselves into oblivion. And even in Formula One, which has the deepest pockets of any form of racing around the world, they've had to implement a cost cap with this same fear in mind. So I think certain parts, from talking to different team members, team managers, things like that over the years, certain things, especially things that are below the surface, let's say, things that you don't see, teams probably could produce on their own and do so at a cost savings, actually, which would be beneficial. But in terms of opening up aerodynamic development, for instance, or to let the engine manufacturers have more freedom, I think that perhaps opens Pandora's box a little bit, where the spending could easily get out of hand. Now, that said, should the sport find itself in a healthier financial situation moving forward, and I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility, especially with the Fox investment and the potential that comes from that, then we can revisit this subject. But right now, enough teams are struggling as it is to make the budgets line up. Costs are already higher than they've been in a very long time. I mean, you got to really go back to the late kart era to before Champ Car to talk about budgets that have reached this level. And it's not engine manufacturers anymore that are subsidizing things the way that they were back then. It's up to the teams to try and find a way to cover the costs. So I think with cost in mind right now, the next chassis is likely to be not so dissimilar to the current one in terms of the spec nature of it, and without too many windows open up for the teams. But again, down the road, perhaps that is something that could change.
Well, like we've all said, thank you for joining us this evening.
Of course.
Ryan, before we let you go, I did mention that it is race week, so can't let you go without giving us a little bit of a preview of what you think is going to be in store for this weekend's Snap-on Milwaukee Mile 250 from the Wisconsin State Fair.
Yeah, it's such a cool venue, and sadly, it's not what I've ever been to, actually, with the way that the radio works. We don't need as many people for the short oval, so I've never been able to make the trek up there, at least on a race weekend. I did poke my nose around one time on my way up to Road America, but I'll be watching and listening from home as I'm covering some IMSA stuff this weekend. As far as what to expect, man, if last year's race is already indication, we're going to have a lot of fun, aren't we? Because the racing was really, really good. I think if you're looking for favorites, probably something out of the trio of Newgarden, McLaughlin, and Pato. They've kind of been the short oval masters over the years. I heard you guys talking about Newgarden's relative struggles at Milwaukee. And yeah, he did crash out at both races last year, but he's had good runs in the past. And I would say those two results were aberrations. I would think those three are probably their favorites for a race win. But if you're looking for maybe more of a dark horse, you guys kind of brought up Ferrucci and Daly already. I think that's a really good shout. They were awfully strong here a year ago. Daly with that podium in particular comes to mind. Will Power's been awfully good at Milwaukee over the years. And, you know, we can't discount Alex Palou, can we, with the season that he's had? It would be foolish not to bring his name up. Scott Dixon as well as a past winner. I think the winner is likely to come out of that group, but hey, you don't know. And even on a season that's been as dominated by one driver as this one has been, the beauty of IndyCar is on any given weekend, you can have a surprise pop up, and you just don't know what to expect until you arrive at the racetrack and really until the checkered flag falls. So I'm really looking forward to it. I love this track. It's got great history, some really good races there over the years, and I'm hopeful that the crowd will be strong. I'm hopeful the TV numbers will be strong and that Milwaukee can retain a place on the calendar for many years to come.
Ryan, as I opened, huge thank you for joining us and giving us your insight, not only in the 2025 season, but giving us a little bit of a preview of what this race weekend is going to look like from your perspective. Again, huge thank you. Definitely love to listen to you and everyone else on the IndyCar Radio Network. As you said earlier, the picture that all of you paint is second to none. So again, Ryan, huge thank you for joining us. We'll talk again soon, and and maybe we'll see each other in Nashville in a couple weeks. All three of us will be down there for that race.
Very cool. Derik, Josh, Michael, thanks so much for having me on. Really enjoyed chatting IndyCar with you, and keep preaching the gospel. It's a wonderful sport, and we just need more people to be paying attention to it. So what you do just keeps adding to the ether, and hopefully people pay attention.
Yep, Ryan, that's all we can do. So again, huge thank you for joining us, and we'll talk again soon.
Take care.
All right, that was Ryan Myrehn of the IndyCar Radio Network. Go check him out and listen to the other announcers there, just because, like we talked about, we're not just, blowing smoke up your rear end. The picture that all of those announcers paint, from Mark James, Davey Hamilton in the booth, to Jay Query, Michael Young, Nick Yeoman, Ryan Myrehn, and the rest of the group there on the IndyCar Radio Network are definitely second to none. All right, before we get into Josh's favorite segment, and no, it's not an interview with Stingray Rob. Before we get into Josh's favorite segment, let's take a look, or let's thank rather, a few sponsors that make it possible here on the Push to Pass podcast to come to you week in and week out. First and foremost, Always Ready 1776. For all your patriotic apparel, headwear, and more, go check out Always Ready 1776, and you can find them on the web at alwaysready1776.com. And if you do choose something that you would like to purchase, as always, remember to use that promo code that you see right there in the middle of your screen, Push to Pass, for 10% off of your order at Always Ready 1776. New sponsor to the Push to Pass podcast is Diane's Landscaping. For tree service, fertilizing, topsoil, grass cutting, garden cleanups, hedge trimming, garden weeding, controlling lawn aeration, and more, go check out Diane's Landscaping. You can find them on Facebook at, again, Diane's Landscaping, or you can call 419-770-2332, and that is Diane's Landscaping. Last but certainly not least, Get 'em Associates. For all your home design, build, and remodeling needs, remember, it's Get 'em Associates. And you can find them on the web as well at getem.com. And if you do choose to use one of their home services, remember to use the promo code PUSH2PASS down there at the bottom of the screen for $250 off any design service. Go check them out at Get 'em Associates. Thank you to Always Ready 1776, Diane's Landscaping, and Get 'em Associates for being proud sponsors of the Push to Pass podcast. All right, getting back to talking IndyCar, because obviously that is what we all love to do. We're waiting on Mike to do our betting aspect of things here on the Push to Pass podcast. But before we do, I want to get Michael and Josh's thoughts on the interview that we just did with IndyCar Radio Network announcer Ryan Myrehn.
I always love doing the interviews with the IndyCar Network. We can't get the big guys from Fox to come on. Will Buxton is a little bit above our little bit above our bar. We're trying to get up there, but having those guys on, I don't think there's been one that's been on that hasn't been fantastic as a guest. We have Jake on probably multiple times a year. Mark's always a good listener. He's not a listener. He's always a good listen. He knows so much about the sport and just the history that I could sit and listen to him. One time I did sit in Monrovia's weight room one time and talked to him for about an hour while we were on exercise bikes. But and then also track dude Michael Young, he was a great guest when we had him on. So I love having them on. They're so articulate, and they give a lot of behind the scenes on their end of it. I know they don't know everything, but they give behind the scenes on their end, and it's always fun.
Yeah, I think Ryan had some great points. We had some good questions for me. Had some good responses to kind of help bridge some of the gaps there and give his thoughts. And like Josh said, it's always good to have a guest on that has some good insights and has some good thoughts that we can all bounce off ideas together and like we talked about growing the sport. That's what it's all about, and that's one of the big things we do to try and do here with this podcast is help fans learn about the IndyCar series and help it grow.
Yeah, I think both of you are absolutely right. And if you did happen to miss our interview with Ryan, you can always go back on YouTube and go back through the show. Or as we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, the Push to Pass podcast has been put in audio version. So you can go to your favorite podcast outlet, if that's Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcast from, and you should be able to find the Push to Pass podcast on there just by searching Push to Pass. I see that I see that Mike might be running a little bit late. So, Josh, would you be able, and if not, we can go to the news and notes, but would you be able to handle the betting aspect here for a few minutes?
Try. I just pulled up on Caesars, which is my favorite app, to try and look at some of the. I mean, as usual, they don't have any matchups or anything going on yet. They just have the bets on the odds on the drivers. Palou is your favorite at plus 235. One that sticks out to me is even with all that Joseph Newgarden and Penske has been through this year, he is the second best odds at plus 350 to win. McLaughlin comes in at plus 600. A good one that I'm looking at, and just because he's been right there every once in a while, is Colton Herta. He's at plus 850. That might be a good one. Or Scott Dixon at 1,200, plus 1,200. I mean, everybody else I'm looking at, Kirkwood's at plus 1,600. Once you're getting to 1,600 or better or worse, those guys are not going to have very good chances. Dixon, like I said, Dixon's at 1,200. So if I were a betting man, and the last time I said this, I won money. I would take Pato at plus 600, and I would also throw a little bit of money on Colton Herta at plus 850. So those would be my two picks, either Pato at plus 600 or Colton Herta at plus 850.
Good stuff. Can't wait to see what these odds when they do officially come out. And as we always say, make sure you're paying attention to Mike's Twitter, and we put that down there week after week because, again, he knows his stuff. And with football right around the corner, Josh said if he was a betting man, I want to bet today. So maybe I need to follow Josh's advice there and put some money on those drivers, but we'll see how all that works out. But again, pay attention to Mike's Twitter, Indy_bet, for all your betting needs this weekend. Speaking of this weekend, let's take a look at what the weather forecast is going to look like. And none other than the official Push to Pass podcast weather man is joining us. IndyCar Weatherman, again, good to have you back. And it looks like from your early prognostication, yeah, that's a big word, prognostication. Looks like we're going to have a great weekend ahead in store.
Yeah, so far everything's looking pretty good. One kind of area I'm keeping an eye on. We've got Saturday and Sunday events, but we got to back up kind of one day and start with Friday. So there's a cold front that's going to come through on Friday, which might have a few rain showers with it. And right now it's been basically the signal's been it's going to come through late Friday and then maybe into the overnight hours. So what I'm watching for as we get further through the week is to see whether or not that may linger up a little bit into early Saturday morning. And my concern there is, of course, normally it wouldn't be a big deal, but we have that 8 a.m. first practice session scheduled, 8 a.m. local. So, if there's a little bit of moisture still lingering around in those early morning hours, it's just something we'll need to keep an eye on. And then otherwise, the rest of the day is good to go. So it's not like a rain out type rain shower or anything like that. It's just if we have some lingering light moisture out there that might impact that 8 a.m. session. So the rest of Saturday's good. Sunday looks great. We should stay in the 70s both days. So, we ran a pretty hot race last week or 2 weeks ago in Portland, and now we kind of go in the opposite direction and we get pretty good temperature forecast. So bottom line is possible showers late Friday, and then we'll keep an eye out on that timing if it could kind of creep into Saturday morning, but then we should be dry and cool the rest of the way.
With all of the weather data and analysis that you can get your hands on, do you see any reason whatsoever for the forecast? And I know I ask you this week in and week out, but for the forecast to change between now and 2 o'clock on Sunday when the green flag drops?
I don't right now. So everything still looks pretty good. Once that front goes through, we get into some more stable air. It's a little bit drier, a little bit cooler. Maybe we'll see some clouds in there. I might have to add clouds in the forecast, but for now it looks dry. And I don't see anything that would, cancel events or move events around. It's just right now I'm really concerned about that 8 a.m. practice session as the only potential impact. And even that looks pretty sketch, like whether or not that's going to happen. It looks like everything's probably going to go on time or on schedule for now. So once we get into Wednesday and Thursday, we'll have a solid idea what's going to happen Friday, Saturday, and then we move into Sunday, once we kind of get into that 72 to 48 hours out. And the forecast models, right, that we look at to do a much better job the closer we get to the event. So
again, as always, if something were to happen and you had to update your forecast, where can people find that potentially updated forecast at?
Yeah, so I'm posting on Twitter/X. I've got an account over on Instagram Threads, and I throw some stuff over on Blue Sky too. So any of those platforms, whatever people are using, and if you just do a search for IndyCar Weatherman, my account should come right up.
All right, Weatherman, as always, and all season long, tremendous work. Definitely enjoy getting a first look at what the forecast is going to bring us this weekend. We have one more race to go, so we will hear from you in about a week or so.
That's right. Sounds good. One to go. You guys have a great night. Thank you.
All right, go check him out, IndyCar Weatherman on Twitter or X, depending on what platform that you use or what generation that you grew up in. Definitely, if there's a change in the forecast, like we said, to go check his Twitter/X account out. All right, just one more segment before we drop the checkered flag on another episode of the Push to Pass podcast, and we do have a couple news and notes from around the NTT IndyCar Series. First one that we have, and I know this might be Josh's favorite Michigan man of all time. No, not Charles Woodson, but we'll be heading to Nashville next week. This comes as no surprise. I think we've talked about this before, but Josh's man crush, David Portnoy, is going to be attending the NTT IndyCar race, but not as a spectator, yes, and as a celebrity. But if you didn't know, yesterday it was announced that David Portnoy would ride in the fastest seat in motorsports at the Nashville finale. So I know how pumped and thrilled Josh is for this. So I will let him talk about maybe potentially, if he plays his cards right, be able to meet his Michigan man crush.
Yes, Dave Portnoy is a huge Michigan fan, and he is not brash about. He is not bashful about it. He will tell you he is, but he's also a Red Sox fan, and I can't stand that. But he is also a Fever fan, so we could talk to him about Caitlin Clark and that. It's exciting. That's a good get for IndyCar to be able to get him in. And Derik had a good idea. Maybe while he's going around, he could eat a piece of pizza and from a local establishment somewhere near the Milwaukee Mile, and once he gets out, he could give his rating on it. But that's a good get for IndyCar to get Portnoy. He's got a huge following with Barstool and all the affiliated Barstool sports people that are out there. So I think that's a step in the right direction. Get more of those celebrities, get more of those. I mean, it doesn't have to be like a Clooney or a Brad Pitt. It could be, a big influencer out there, or maybe you could get Jim Tressel to go around. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if his heart would take it, but get those celebrities out there. It'll be fun, and I can't. Maybe I'll get him to sign a little mini helmet while we're there if I can get him to talk to me.
No, Ohio State people, please. No Ohio State people. No. No, I'd say it is, Josh. You're right. It's a great get for IndyCar. Someone with that popularity, that following to come in to the sport, whether it's riding in the two-seater, throwing a green flag, just their presence, their social media will, help bring people to get at least eyeballs on the sport, and then they can, look at it and see if it's something they want to, follow. So those big stars like that, you're right, are great to get, some eyeballs on the sport. Jim Tressel, I don't know, he might have 2 followers on social media, so we don't need any of the Ohio State people coming over.
First off, we're not going to bash the senator. Second off, him and Urban Meyer, I believe, are undefeated against the team up north. So just keep that in mind. But yes, not a college football show. But yeah, no, you never bash the senator or the sweater vest ever. Okay, getting us back on track here, Michael. It was announced earlier today, or was it yesterday? Monday, excuse me. That this gentleman right here, Marcus Armstrong, has now signed a contract extension that will return him to Myrehn Racing in the number 66 Route Sirius XM Honda for the 2026 season. So, Michael, thoughts on Marcus Armstrong being able to have another season? He's had a solid season with Myrehn Racing. Let's not forget that, with 10 top 10 finishes this season in his podium in Iowa, just his second of his career. But thoughts on Marcus Armstrong being able to stay in the Myrehn stable in 2026?
Yeah, second full-time season, with, he hasn't had the sophomore slump. So good for him. It's been a good fit for him, working towards, obviously winning a race and, being on the podium this year is good. He's getting that craft on the oval, which he's not used to. So yeah, good for Myrehn Racing. It's good for that team to be consistent. I'm pretty sure they'll have Felix back next year. If that's already not announced, I'm sure it will be, but I think he has a multi-year deal. So yeah, to have that same stable, those teams seem to work really well together and partner together. But yeah, it's going to be good for them, I think, going into next year to kind of have that same core group of people.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right, and it would not surprise me. And this is an early prediction, but it would not surprise me to see Myrehn get out of the gate pretty quickly next year, with the cohesiveness of Felix Rosenqvist and what he's done this year. And as Michael just alluded to, the season and the sophomore slump that Marcus Armstrong has had. So definitely Myrehn building something over there and a lot of momentum heading towards 2026. All right, last news item for the day or for the show. We talk about wanting new sponsors, new eyeballs to the sport, and well, Marcus Ericsson is going to have a new sponsor for this weekend's race in Milwaukee, and then next weekend's race at Nashville. Browning Chapman, which is they're headquartered, believe it or not, Westfield, Indiana. They do thousands of projects nationwide, partnering with Fortune 500 companies, public agencies, and private owners in various industries, commercial, healthcare, educational, government, hospitality, parking, and sports facilities. They are going to be the primary sponsor for Marcus Ericsson. Again, like I said, this weekend in Milwaukee, and then next weekend in Nashville. So, Josh, I'll let you take this first. New sponsor to IndyCar for the final two races for Marcus Ericsson.
Hey, a sponsor is a sponsor, I guess. Browning Chapman. I've got a lot of their merchandise upstairs. I've got a shirt and a hat, and no, I don't. But hey, congratulations for Browning Chapman getting into the IndyCar circuit. This doesn't excite me. I mean, it's another sponsor that if you didn't explain to me who they were, I would never have known. Even living here in Indianapolis, I would not have known who they were. But it's more money for that team, and it's good. Just going back to our previous talk about the Armstrong getting an extension, getting a new contract. Who would be a good sponsor for him? Axe Body Spray, because that kid is still in high school, and I think his mom had to sign his contract for him because he's not old enough to sign the contract. He looks so young.
Josh, I'm with you on this sponsor deal. I had to go on and read what they were about, and it looks like they got connected with Andretti Global by restoring the concrete flooring surface in the new shop. So that's about all I know about the company. And like you said, it is a new sponsor. But what's it gonna really do? Like, it's not like a traditional fan is going to be able to go and use this service really. And those are the sponsors I think back to years previous that we had in IndyCar and in racing in general, is those sponsors that you could go and get something from the team, or you could support your team. You felt like you were a part of the team because you bought something at Menards, or you bought a Coca-Cola, or you bought some Snap-on tools. You felt a part of the team by having that stuff. And Browning Chapman, I don't have any floors needing redone currently, so they're not going to be high up on my list of people to contact lately. So that's a thing. The sponsors are good if fans can know, because a fan's going to see this and it has nothing to do with a fan. Like, a fan it's more of like a money deal for the team at this point, because an average fan can't use Browning Chapman.
All right, so what I gather from this last piece of information or news before we get on and out of here, two things from Josh. One, I know he has a Browning Chapman bobblehead. He has bobbleheads of every sort of sport, league, whatnot. So I know he has one of those. And two, just by listening to how excited Josh was talking about Browning Chapman, he has a sports arousal about Browning Chapman. I can see this already. And Michael is just as enthused when he needs flooring done or concrete in his mansion where he lives at. You know who's going to be first on his list to call? Yeah, you guessed it, Browning Chapman. So that's what I gather from that. All right, fellas, is there anything else before we drop the checkered flag on another episode of the Push to Pass podcast that we need to discuss or go over before we get on out of here on this Tuesday?
Not that I can think of. Just excited to watch Milwaukee, and in a couple weeks, excited to be in Nashville.
Yes, actually, one thing that Derik, you actually kind of brought it back to my attention. I was on X over the weekend. Maybe it was last week. I don't know. Recently, and someone posted on there looking for Kyle Kirkwood merchandise. And they were on the IndyCar.com store. And there was 4 pieces of merchandise on there for the driver who has the second most wins in the series. That is a problem. I don't know who needs to pick up the pieces there or put the pieces together, but someone in marketing or licensing or something needs to get the ball on the roll or the ball rolling when it comes to merchandise on the store, because we've been at the track. There's honestly, the merchandise is skimp this year. Indy obviously had a good selection because it's Indy, but when we were in Detroit, it was not there. So the merchandise is what fans want to support their driver. Is kind of the sponsorship thing. You brought it up with Browning Chapman. They're not going to go and make a special uniform for the fan uniform jersey for the fan for Browning Chapman. So, and that's another hard thing with the bouncing sponsors. How many different sponsors has poor Marcus Ericsson had this year? So, but the merchandise is one thing that you can, cross brand, like the Andretti Global brand. They have the boxy square, with the number and the name plate, and then they have the flag. Like, you can do that, but like there's just not enough merchandise, and fans want that stuff. And when it's not available on the store, and some fans don't live close enough to a race to get to because IndyCar isn't in certain areas. So those are things that IndyCar, hopefully Fox can help address as well, because they can see the potential of those kind of sales.
Yeah, definitely need to get the branding officer merchandise, head of merchandise on that ASAP, because IndyCar needs all the fans and eyeballs that they can get. And to Michael's point, I don't know if it was skimpy on merchandise or skimpy in the wallet. I'm not sure which one that is, but be that as it may, yeah, that was my attempt at a joke. All right. With that being said, like I said, that does wrap up another episode of the Push to Pass podcast. Huge thank you goes out to all of the viewers that tuned in this evening on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter or X. Thank you to you guys for that. If you did miss any of the show, you can go back on YouTube and watch the replay of the video, or if you're just an audio person, and that's okay too, go check out the Push to Pass podcast, and it can be found on all major podcast platforms. Also, huge thank you to Ryan Myrehn of IndyCar Radio Network for joining us. Go check out that interview as well. And then also, as always, huge thank you both to Josh and Michael, as always, every Tuesday, carving out a little bit of time out of their busy schedule during the week to join me here on the Push to Pass podcast. So for myself, Josh, Michael, and everyone else that makes up the Push to Pass podcast, we will be back in 1 week's time to talk and discuss what took place in Milwaukee and preview Nashville as the NTT IndyCar Series for 2025 draws to a close. So until then, so long, everybody.
The NTT IndyCar Series is back on track.
Power takes a look to the inside into turn number 1. The battle for the race lead is on in turn 2.
Crew goes to work. The crew will put a full round in that front. Waiting down and away. 6.1 seconds.
Award. He gets around Rinus VK. That final lap car, as does Will Power. It's mano a mano from this point on.
Listen to the NTT IndyCar Series at the Milwaukee Mile. Live this Sunday.